Hi, friends. I want to talk to you about my late husband's funeral. I never discussed that before, and I never talked about it. I didn't want to burden anybody on how I felt. I had a hard time processing things. I had a hard time accepting it that he passed. He was passed unexpectedly. One minute he's here and the other minute he's gone. And it was hard. It was very difficult. And to be the strong person at the time that I was, not only for myself, but for my boys too. I wanted them to be, I couldn't be there emotionally for them as I wanted to because I had a hard time myself in accepting it that he's passed and no longer with us. So I also try to be present as much as I could. And it was such an overwhelming experience that I never dealt with before. My husband, I dealt with grief, but he was the closest one that I had when he passed. And to lose your best friend, that was difficult. And I dealt with so many people giving me their advice and comments that it was overwhelming. I'll give you an example. Guardian angel. So your husband was sent. Who wants to hear that when you lose a loved one? Um, you don't want your loved one to be an angel. You want them here. And at the time, it would frustrate me. It would get me upset. I wanted to tell them a few things in my mind. I just didn't have the strength. I didn't have the strength to talk back. And I was just a shell without a soul in his funeral. And there's certain things that my mind has blocked because that's the great things about your mind. It blocks you from protects you in a sense. So when someone loses their loved one, I feel that people say things for their own comfort, but it's not comforting for the person who's lost their loved one. And sometimes you have to, as the person receiving those comments, you just have to not ignore them, but don't take it too personal because there's other things that you have to process, your emotions. And and it's not their fault that your loved one has passed. So you can't get angry with that person giving you those comments. But I feel if you've never experienced losing a loved one, it's hard to give that person an advice if you never lived it. So instead of getting all those comments and you think they're comforting for the loved one, just stop and be mindful and use words that can comfort that person. You cannot tell that person is going to be okay because they're not okay. They have lost a huge portion of their life and they're not going to be the same. They're never going to be that person again. So that's the awful thing you can tell someone that they're going to be okay when in reality they're not. There's going to be so many events that they have to now deal with because grieving, as you know, doesn't go away. Grieving becomes part of your life It never goes away. It's how you handle the grieving that makes it better. It's how you handle it at the end of the day. So, check up on your strong ones because they are suffering in silence. Always check up on your loved ones and give them comforting words. Tell them, instead of giving advice, ask them, what is it that you need from me today? And the person who's receiving it asks for help as well because you cannot do it alone. And that's what I've learned. It's impossible for you to do it alone. Be vulnerable. Learn to be vulnerable and ask for help in every single way. Until next time, ciao.